Hey, how's it going? This is Melinda and welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to do a bit of a rant about something that's been driving me crazy for a really long time. And a few weeks ago, I made a video talking about a report that came out recently about how vinyl records have slowed down in sales, which turned out to not be true. But even though they're saying vinyl record sales are still up, that's just not what I'm hearing from my viewers. A lot of you are sharing with me, you're not buying as many records. You've maybe gone to collecting CDs again, and you're not buying these expensive new records. You're furious about them. But then there were some people who commented on something that's kind of been rubbing me the wrong way, something I've been kind of angry about. And I want to share that with you. So let's go ahead and talk about it. You guys, you have been talking about these reissues, new records. Are they too expensive? And I get it. I understand what you're saying. With inflation and with everything more expensive, we have less money to spend in general. And then when you see the price of vinyl records, yes, they've become more expensive like everything else has, but they're really not that bad if you think about it. Like a record from the 70s were probably around the $7 range. The equivalent of what $7 would buy you in the 70s is about $45 today. So really, when you think about it, the new records, I mean, yeah, there's a few companies are charging $45, but most of these new reissues aren't that expensive. They're somewhere in between $25 to $35 to $40. Now, I'm not going to lie though. I recently put in an order for a record and it cost $40. And then when I added the shipping, which was outrageous, it was $10 and tax. It was an over $50 record. And yes, my head exploded. Of course, that's so frustrating. It's a record I want to have. And if I want to get a certain copy of it, I had to do what I had to do. But I wasn't happy. But for the most part, it's not the reissues that have made me mad. It's the vintage vinyl prices that have really crept up. And some of you are agreeing with me. And out of this video I made a few weeks ago, I got a ton of comments. And some of you were with me chiming in that these vintage vinyl records are what's kind of eating you up about expense. Let me just show you. This is one of the things that I think of when I'm thinking about these reissues and whether they're worth it or not. Let's just take this one. This is a Tone Poet by Blue Note. It is The Cooker by Lee Morgan, okay? It's got this beautiful jacket. It's absolutely gorgeous. I haven't even opened it all the way yet. It's in beautiful, thick cardboard, gorgeous. And the record itself is really, really nice. And you got to think about this for a minute. That beautiful album cover, it's not cheap. They have to buy nice vinyl, and that's not cheap. They have to pay someone to remaster this record. Somewhere along the line, I imagine Lee Morgan's family gets a little money. Of course, Blue Note put it out there, so maybe they don't have to have that expense of paying another music label. I'm not really sure how that works. But you think about that record is about a $35 to $40 record. An original of that, if you want to get it in good shape, I saw 4 years ago, I was in Colorado, and I saw it in a case at a record store, and they wanted $1,000 for an original. So when you think about that, you think about the quality, you know, it had to be in a pressing plant where they had to pay money to press it. They had to pay someone to remaster it. All of the expenses that come into that for $35 to $40 to get that incredible record, honestly, that just doesn't sound that bad to me. On the other hand, when I think about a record like this, Billy Joel's Greatest Hits, Volume 1 and 2. Now, it's a great record, but I remember buying this several years ago, early on in my collecting, for about $15 or $20. And now, this is about a $40 to $50 record. It's 2 LPs. But think about this, okay? This was pressed a long time ago. They don't have to pay Billy Joel any more money. or his record label. They don't get any more money for this used copy of this record. Don't have to pay for a pressing plant. Don't have to pay for the vinyl. Nothing. And it's still a $40 to $50 record. That makes me mad. That blows me up. Now, I've already have it, so I don't need another copy. But if I was a new collector and I saw the $40 price tag for that, my head would explode. It would be insane. Same goes for these other records. And I've had these for a long time. Pyromania by Def Leppard. It is a rock classic that most people want to have in their collection. And I bought this a long time ago before the vinyl craze really, truly took off. And I probably paid $7 for it. Journey, Frontiers. This is a record that I saw, I bought this a long time ago, probably, again, $5, $7. And I saw a copy of this later, and it was cool because it was still in the shrink wrap, and it had the hype sticker on it. And I thought, ooh, how nice. I'd love to own one that still had the hype sticker. And then I looked at the price. $20 for Frontiers after I paid $5 to $7 for it? No, I'm not going to pay that much more money to have the shrink wrap. No, thank you. But someone else probably bought it and paid that price because they're new collectors or they didn't have that in their collection. Same with this one. This is in decent shape. My record plays good. I have no complaints about the copies I own. They play fine. But every once in a while you run into a copy that maybe the album cover looks a little better. See, mine's got a little raggedy place right here. But again, I'm not going to pay $20 to $25 for this record again. My Quiet Riot record has this enormous warp on it. And I've been wanting to replace it with an original for a while. But I'm not willing to pay what they're asking for it. So I'm just continuing to play. The warp, it still plays. It's not a problem. It's just a big old warp on this record. And I'm just not willing to buy another copy of it because the used market it's just insane when it comes to these classic records. Have you seen how much Rush costs now to buy the original records to get them in good shape? Now, yeah, you can probably buy any of these in beat up condition and pay very little money, but you want them in clean condition where they will play well and you can enjoy them. So it makes you wonder though, here is a reissue of this Rush record. It's probably a $30 record. You might be able to get it a little cheaper versus what you pay for the vintage copy, $20 to $25 for a vintage copy versus $30 for a reissue. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of tough. What do you do in this situation like that? It's frustrating because you look at this one and they recently had to pay for the vinyl. They recently had to pay for the album covers and the mastering and everything that went into getting this really good reissue. I personally like the sound of my original better, but they're both. If you don't own both and you just have one, you're going to be happy with either one of them. So I've been just frustrated when I look through these titles. Now I have a lot of them already, and I understand the rarer records, yeah, they're going to cost a lot more. If you're getting something from a psych record from the 60s, good luck. They are rare and very expensive, and I expect that because they are rare. But those are common records. They sold a ton of them. What gives? Why are they so expensive? And that's, honestly, I know a lot of you are mad about these reissues. It's these vintage vinyl copies that make my blood boil because they've gotten so much more expensive. I think just about everything I would want as far as classic rock goes, but if I ever want to do an upgrade, I'm just not willing to pay that extra price for them. So I did a little digging, and I was at a record store the other day and I saw these prices once again. Air Supply now. This is about a $10 to $15 record. It's unbelievable to me. To get one in great condition, you can get a beat up copy for $3 of Air Supply records all the time. But I think this is a good record. It brings back a lot of memories. It's sentimental for me because my mom owned it and played it in the car a lot. So I have a lot of great memories of being with my mom and listening to these songs. And every high school dance had the song Making Love Out of Nothing at All. You know, that was just, it was that one and Total Eclipse of the Heart and No More Lonely Nights by Paul McCartney. Those were the songs you heard all the time. So it does have good memories. And also, the hype sticker, it says it was the #1 pop group of the 80s. Really? I bet Daryl Hall and John Oates are scratching their head on that one thinking, really? Are you sure? But I don't know. I don't know who the better best-selling group was. You know, I need to look that up, I guess. Maybe Air Supply won out. Okay, so I've been mad about this for a long time. And when people commented on the reissues being so expensive and so outrageous, I'm like, okay, yeah, I hear you. Because we don't have the extra money that we used to have. But what really has been making me angry is the price of the vintage records. Until recently, I really had to stop and think about why these reissues, or I'm sorry, not reissues, these vintage vinyl records, why they have to charge so much money. And I went into a store recently and I talked to a guy. His name's Eric and he owns the store Music Matters Remixed. I think he's owned it for 4 years, maybe more. I didn't ask how many years. He's owned it for several years, but he's carrying on a tradition. That record store had been there for a long time and he's the new owner. And I talked to him. I said, why are these vintage records, why do they have to be so expensive? And he told me the story and the life of a record store owner. For one, you know, he's newer. And yes, sometimes people bring in collections. They bring them right to his door. It's very nice. And even when I was there, that actually happened. Someone brought in a collection. But a lot of the time, these record store owners have to go out and hear about a record collection. Someone will notify them, hey, I've got a record collection I want to sell. Can you come and look at it? Tell me what you would give me for it. I know if I was to sell my record collection, which I'm not going to do, but if I did, someone would have to come to my house because there's no way I would box up all of these records. I have too many. I wouldn't take them to a store and let them look through them and just give me an offer. They'd have to come to my house, look through them. And that's what happens a lot. They get, if they're lucky anyway, they get bites. They get these calls, hey, I've got a collection I'm interested in selling. And a record store owner has to then get in their vehicle. They have to leave the store and pay someone else to run it that day while they go somewhere else spending gas money to look at a collection. No guarantees. And sometimes they walk away without making a deal and it's just a loss for them. Sometimes they have to rent a trailer. Sometimes they have to bring an employee with them to help them lift. I know if I sold my collection and someone came in here, one person alone, it would be very hard. They would want to have another employee. They probably have to pay that employee for the day. Come along with me and I'll pay you and you can help me load up a collection of records. For record store owners, they also want to develop a reputation that they will pay the most for your records. So that way, word of mouth, you know, people start talking, hey, I sold my collection to so-and-so and they gave me a great deal. They could probably do that for you. You want the reputation of paying the best in the city you live in or the surrounding counties. So that's really important. So not only do they have to pay a pretty good amount, people are no longer just throwing their records like, here, I just want to get rid of them. Just take them. No, they know they're valuable. They know vinyl has gotten very, very popular. They know there is a supply and demand issue going on. So they want, and I would want, as much money as I could possibly get for my records. Well, they have to pay that. And so it's not cheap anymore. You know, back when I was buying records, there were still some people just wanting to get rid of their records. So I get that. They have to pay more money now. They have to develop a reputation for that so that they attract more collectors into trading in or selling out their record collections. And they have to then put them in their store, come up with a price that takes a lot of time and effort, put them in their store. And let's think about the store for a minute. These record stores, they have to have heat and air if we're lucky. I've been to stores where there was no heat. I've been to stores where there was no air conditioning, and it's miserable. It's a hard experience. So I appreciate the record store owners who spring for heat and air. You guys rock. Or even lights, so you can actually see what you're looking for. A lot of these old buildings, though, people have to rent out older buildings a lot of times for record stores, and the heat and air is a little questionable. But they also have to support their families. This record store is feeding a family, and they have to pay their mortgage or their rent. They have to put food on the table. They have to build a retirement. They have to buy a car. They have to do all of the things while running a record store. And that is hard. There are some people who are doing it brilliantly and doing great. And then there's others. It depends on what city you live in and how many record owners help support you, record collectors are supporting you, how much business you get. There are certain months where money is so tight. There are sort of slow months when it comes to vinyl records sales. And a real kind record collector or record store owner shared that with me about how expensive it can be to have a record store, to buy what you need for the record store and pay the bills, and then have money left over. You got to pay your employees, and then you got to pay yourself. So after hearing all of that, I thought, maybe I shouldn't be as mad about the price of records, the vintage vinyl. And let's face it, if anything, any of this hobby at all, vinyl records, is going to go up in value, I would say first it's going to be the vintage records. And I know that from experience. I'll show you a couple I have. These are the two most expensive vintage records that I own. The Stooges Funhouse. This is about a $200 record now. It came out in 1970, so that makes sense. It's the Stooges. They were popular, but they weren't exactly like Andy Williams or Sonny and Cher. Those, they sold a gazillion records. The Stooges were a little more niche at the time, and these records are very valuable. Here's another one. This one came out in 2003. It's Let It Be Naked by the Beatles, and they've only issued it this one time from 2003, and it's, again, $150 to $200 record. It's because at that time, people weren't really into vinyl. It wasn't really selling, but they put this one out there, and they have yet to reissue it. It does need a reissue, but again, it is one of the more expensive records in my collection that is an original. So again, I get why so many people are mad about these new records, reissues. I understand you buy one and you pay for shipping and taxes, and it's a lot of money. At the same time, the vintage records, until I understood the backstory of what record store owners actually have to do to acquire these records and put them in the store. I can complain all I want to, but I personally get the benefit of walking into that record store and everything already being there. The trip to whatever city to buy a collection and lug it back over and price it, pay good money to the former owner so that they could buy the records, all that's been already done. I just walk into a store and I can just start digging. I'm paying a little bit for that benefit, for that convenience. So when I think about everything that goes into all of these vintage records, it's a little harder to be mad about it. But I want to know what you all think, because so many of you were mad about the reissue situation and how expensive new records are. Some of you chimed in about the vintage vinyl as well. So let me know, what do you all think? Once you think about all of the little details that go into having these vintage records in a record store, can we really complain? Can we really be that mad? Probably not. It still bothers me, but I kind of understand now. So I just wanted to share that with you. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please hit subscribe, hit the like button, the notification bell. Most importantly, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.